This is Kupuna Connections, brought to you by Kapi'olani Community College's Kupuna Education Center.
Welcome everyone. This is the Kupuna Connections television show on Olelo, Channel 55. And we are providing a broadcast from Kauai all the way to the Big Island, having to do with services for seniors and information that is basic and practical for families, for the elders, and for family caregivers. We are very happy to be able to talk about a very important topic having to do with how laws can protect our seniors. And I am, first of all, Colin Hayashida with Kupuna Education Center with Kapi'olani Community College, and my co-host is Tony Hathaway, also from the college. And we are very happy to have with us two very wonderful guests. First is Lei Shimizu from the Elderly Affairs Division, City and County of Honolulu, a longtime associate and certainly very well familiar with the field. And also with her is Catherine Mashima, our elder law attorney for today. And I'd like to welcome both of you for joining us.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Yes. So why don't we first ask both of you to share a little bit about who you are.
Well, I'm right now with the Elderly Affairs Division, which is part of the City and County of Honolulu. And for the past 24 years, I worked for the state, investigated elder abuse, and I also did some practicum field work with the University of Hawaii for about 6 years. And so now my focus is on gerontology.
Yes. Leigh and I go way back, and so she certainly has a lot of experience. Catherine.
I currently work as an attorney at the law office of Scott C. Suzuki. We do a lot of estate planning as well as a lot of elder care issues, Medicaid planning, guardianships when necessary, conservatorships, and probates as well.
Okay.
Great.
Well, let me start off with some general questions. You know, we talk about law and legal issues with regards to older people, and I guess one thought is, well, I'm an older adult, and I'm not going to get involved with major contracts or anything like that, and therefore, I don't really need to be concerned about the law. But what's your take on that with regards to why is it important that we be concerned about some of the legal issues of older adults?
Well, in my experience in investigating elder abuse and financial exploitation, it's when the elder becomes somewhat, memory impaired, is not able to go and do their own banking and things like that on their own, and has to depend on other people. And if your network of people become very much stressed, or you have no one there, then other people who have bad intentions can sometimes victimize the elders.
You become very vulnerable in some respects.
Exactly.
In that sense. I see. Anything you'd like to add to that, Catherine?
I think in general, people just don't like to think about as they age, and they don't take into consideration there are a lot of unforeseeable issues that come up. And somebody may as well be healthy all the way until they pass away, but oftentimes there are things that we don't know might come up, and I cannot stress enough that planning ahead of time before the problems arise can lessen the stress for the individual and their loved ones around them.
Well, I guess I'd like to talk about one of those situations that most of us really don't like to think about, but any one of us could find ourselves in. Let's say that I become physically and mentally incapacitated, and that I don't walk very well anymore. I have severe dementia, which means that I don't even know who I am. What kinds of things can be done to protect me?
Well, as I said, prevention is always the best, planning ahead. But however, in the situations where there is someone who is already, forgetful, does not remember who they are, and I have had a client that came to that point before he came for help, and it was a problem. We had to do a guardianship. And without going into the technicalities of the guardianships and conservatorships, basically he needed someone to care for him. And because he didn't have family who were willing to do it, you know, there are state agencies that will help, in that case, Office of Public Guardian. But a lot of times it is stressful. Things that, had he come to us earlier, prior to really losing his capacity, we could have avoided going to court and asking the judge, can you please, you know, appoint someone to help my client? And those are things that I'm sure Lei has a lot of experience with as well.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's just really endless. The
Give me
kinds
an
of-
example of a bad situation that it
Oh.
may have happened in the past where guardianship or, you know, somebody's lost their capacity to make some decisions on their own. And
Well, I can think of situations where individuals are trying to give away a large sum of money, and they may present really well, and they seem like generous people, and all their lives they may have been generous, but at this point they have pretty much been giving away their entire life savings, and it's only when they're close to being destitute that somebody will recognize that situation and they come to the attention of, say, Adult Protective Services, and it's too late because already their assets have been dwindled by other people. Even when they do have capacity, sometimes, you know, it's difficult to work with these individuals because they have memory impairment. So they may have capacity but not be able to handle their money management. So they either, you know, start to default on maybe something as simple as maintenance fees. They may be, you know, paid their mortgage in full, but they have maintenance fees. And people have been close to foreclosing on their homes just because of that.
Say I am afraid of this happening to me, and I come to you as a lawyer. What would you suggest that I do to put, you know, to put some things in place if this happens to me? You know, get dementia, and I can't make those decisions for myself.
Situations like that can be avoided by simply doing a trust, which would name someone in the event that you decide you don't want to manage your affairs yourself. Your successor trustee that you appoint will take care of things for you without having to go to court or get a guardianship. Or even a simple power of attorney document. There are various types of power of attorneys. Generally, very generally, a durable general power of attorney will last during your incapacity if that comes to that point. And whoever is your attorney, in fact, can assist you. Of course, not everybody accepts power of attorneys. Financial institutions are really hesitant because of the fraud that can go along with that. If someone decides they then revoke a power of attorney that they've given to someone prior to, there's really no way of them knowing. So a lot of times, at least for financial institutions, you want to set something up prior to. You know, if you know there's someone you can trust, you know, never give a power of attorney to someone you do not trust completely or someone you hardly know, just in case.
now, power of attorney is revocable, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But again, with the problem that it not being a recorded document necessarily, or you could record the revocation, places are hesitant, and by law, there's nothing saying that they have to accept
I
it.
guess there's a problem too. If somebody actually becomes incapacitated mentally, then you cannot revoke that, I guess, after the fact. Yeah. That becomes a challenge. Now let's change the subject a little bit and talk about another word that is oftentimes found, you know, with regards to seniors and the law, and that's advanced directives or medical directives, or, you know, and sometimes it's referred to as living will. You know, what is this all about?
Well, way back, actually, probably over 15 years ago, every single social worker and hospital had to start to inform people that they can do an advance directive. I think it was actually after the Jeff Crabtree, who was that landmark case.
Yes.
Yeah, Shirley Crabtree, I can mention it because it was
Yes.
public. But after that, because in his situation, his mother had, you know, broke her neck and she was still alive, and she stayed in this vegetative state for 4 years until she turned 60, and then he and his family did want to take some measures to take, you know, withhold hydration and nutrition, and his landmark case initiated that, the living will.
The living will.
But now it's called advance directive.
Okay. What does that mean?
that we
for people that, you know, our viewers.
Well, for that particular case for which I was involved in, that one meant that two psychiatrists and a physician, actually three of them, had to pretty much ascertain that the individual was brain dead, and that there were previous discussions about how she would want things to be if she were in that kind of state. And he was able to successfully go through with the case and show that, you know, we should have the ability to make that decision.
So let's say that I am thinking about my future, and I decide to prepare some kind of a medical directives or advanced directives. What does that mean? I mean, what do I put in there, and what am I doing when I do that?
Well, I know Kat can, you know, explain that real well, but we also have all these really simple forms that the University of Hawaii UHelp has provided this booklet, which Elderly Affairs Division, you know, has, and it gives you some actual forms that you can draw up, you know, for your own advanced directives.
Okay. Okay.
Or in situations where we have clients, you know, doing their estate planning, that is part of the document set that we give them, and in it is not only their end-of-life decisions, which is, do I want to be, you know, kept on life support forever and ever or not? It also gives options as organ donation. Do I want to be an organ donor or not? And it also gives the agents that you appoint to help a power of attorney under medical terms. So to have access to your records under HIPAA and other things like that. So it's not just, well, this is what I want if I'm in a vegetative state. It's also, you can have access to my records. I want you to make certain decisions if I haven't provided for it in these, you know, in the document. And also any other
So any kind of
desires.
directions that you want to give while you still have a sane mind. I see. And where do you leave this document anyway?
Well, in my case, I actually helped a 96-year-old, you know, individual to do this, and the first place that we put it, it was in his records in the hospital.
Okay.
And another was to put it in his safety deposit box and with a copy with his attorney. And within a year, this 96-year-old, you know, man did pass away, but he had a very happy ending. But I was able to, I knew exactly where all of them were. So luckily the hospital had it in
I
their
see.
file.
We also recommend that each agent has a copy too.
Agent?
Anybody you appoint to act for you in the event that you can't speak for yourself when you're in the hospital, your healthcare agent will have a copy, so they know. Say, you know, somebody, your doctor never got the copy you sent them or whatnot, at least somebody else who knows they have to act for you has that copy and can bring it in an emergency.
So whomever you designate as a person that's going to be making decision for you, it could be our daughter.
Yes, anyone could be a close friend, but it should be someone you trust completely.
I see.
And there are instances where you don't have one, and I know Leigh mentioned that she knows about surrogate documents, but you know that's another thing that you need, because in the event that the hospital cannot help you, there's nobody you've designated, you're past the point of even signing anything. We have gone to get guardianships in order to have things like feeding tubes inserted, very basic things that we know the person needs, they will not do.
I see.
Do I have to go to a lawyer to do a advanced healthcare directive, or do I need it notarized? Or?
Not necessarily, but it is best. We recommend it, of course, just because there are statutory guidelines that the legislature has set out for advanced healthcare directives without getting too technical. So we do conform to that. But as Leigh said, there are resources for people who maybe can't afford to hire an attorney. There are other alternatives, and the University of Hawaii Elder Law Program is a great resource.
So if I were to prepare this document, am I really going to be certain that my wishes are going to be honored?
I think that
I hope
depends
so.
on the hospital as well, too.
Give me examples where there may be some challenges.
Well, I have not come across where it was, you know, just really forcefully not followed, but there were confusions because of interpretation. So I think the wording is, you know, really important. You know, family members may not understand real technical legally language.
Or they may not agree with your choices.
Oh, that's another issue. Huh? Yes. Okay. So using simple English is important.
I think so.
Yes, yes.
And as much as possible, I think communication with your agents and your family is very important. Just because even if they know your wishes, it's a very emotional time. You know, when you're in the hospital that sick, and you know, we've had cases where the siblings, although they have the directive and they know what mom wanted, they just cannot, you know, say to the doctor, she doesn't want to stay on life support. They just couldn't do it. And that's one reason why you have that is, I know it's difficult for the family, but these are your wishes.
Yeah, so that's a difficult conversation to have, but an important one.
It's an important one.
Yeah, I've been in situations at the hospital when I was employed there where the physicians oftentimes would depend upon the family too as far as input, and with a large family there wasn't any agreement, or one member of the family would disagree, and it would sort of just create a lot of confusion with regards to what
Right.
to do next.
I think, you know, with the surrogate decision making, if just one person disagrees with that decision, then it would have to go to guardianship at that point.
But I guess if you can go back to the healthcare director and say, this is what mom really wanted, it perhaps would really help a lot. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to talk about another situation of abuse. Sometimes family members or a paid caregiver may be doing things that they shouldn't be doing. For example, say I'm an elder and I go to the money and I find that there's money missing from my bank account. So what can I do? How can I protect myself?
Best thing is, you know, the common sense rules: don't give out personal information to people you don't know or trust. But it is hard because there's a lot of people out there who will make you trust them, and they will try to gain your confidence to get your information. But definitely, and a very important thing is, do not live in isolation. You know, because most of the time it's going to be your loved ones, those who care about you, who catch that you are being taken advantage of. And Leigh has plenty of experience helping people in that situation.
Right, and some people don't have people around them. I mean, you know, I've had people who are close to 100 and their friends and all their relatives and loved ones have, you know, already gone before them. So it's also important and they tend to trust just, you know, strangers. So at this point, you know, I would really stress that even people that go from door to door, do canvassing and offer convenient kinds of services or low-cost services, that, you know, that they be educated way before they start to have memory problems, things like that, you know, to be wary of them and to call the Better Business Bureau, the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, to check on these people, and if need be, call the Attorney General's office or call the Prosecuting Attorney's office. We have the Elder Justice Unit there, and they're more than willing to help.
Somebody once told me that if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true, right? And I remember my father, when he was alive, just getting just a whole variety of these sweepstakes, you know? And he said, you put in this $5 check or $25 check, and, you know, you'll be eligible to win this $1 million prize. And there's always this, you know, this feeling that they're going to get that next one, and a lot of money is lost as a result. You know?
True.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
What should people do if they get those calls?
You know, that's a difficult situation because sometimes people don't want to do anything, and that's the tough part is, and I've known people who have been taken advantage of, elderly, and they just don't want to report it because I think there's a lot of stigma that, oh, I've got taken advantage of, I don't want people to know. But it really is nothing to be embarrassed about because you did nothing wrong. And that's part of the not living in isolation, is having that support to go ahead and call the resources that Leigh mentioned, you know, talk to the available state agencies, you know, and try to find out, at least they can point you in the right direction. Because every situation is going to be different.
Right.
Well, it seems like you really do have to be kind of wary that in some ways it can be so tricky. Like, and they'll send you emails saying that there was a problem with your account, and you know, you should send your information to them with your password. And what should you do when you get one of those?
Well, if they're lucky enough to have a trusted friend, if there's any kind of situation that they're in doubt in, that, you know, we would ask them to have this trusted friend review their situation. Never give it online or just give anybody any of these identification information, because it's just rampant at this point. But now I noticed that the seniors are getting a lot more brave and assertive, and they call us on the information assistance helpline, and they tell us about these situations. And, hey, what should I do? We tell them to report to the SMP, the Senior Medicare Patrol, SMP, and before they even get ripped off. So I think our seniors are much more.
And also
aware.
notifying the agency that they're posing as is
yeah.
good as well, because that way they're on alert that somebody is using their identity to try and get information, and then they can send out their actual warnings to their customers. We'll never ask for your personal information via email or phone.
This is, I guess, one of the reasons why perhaps it's so important for seniors to remain in touch with a group, maybe a senior club, or family, and the seniors that are living alone and are not connected with other people perhaps are more subject, are more subject to
vulnerable,
much more vulnerable in many respects. So just being connected, I think, is so much an important part of protection, I suppose.
Right. And if they don't know, where to go because they're isolated and have no friends or living relatives, then they could call an office like ours, Elderly Affairs Division. We can refer them to a volunteer group like Project Donna or Waikiki Friendly Neighbors, where they get linked up to people that live in the community and establish a relationship, and it's monitored.
So you are with the Office of the Elderly Affairs Division. What sort of things can your office do as far as helping?
Well, we do a lot of things. We have grants, and we have grant monitors who pretty much, most of our monies are through the service providers that we provide the grants with, like Meals on Wheels and Lanakila Meals and Honolulu Gerontology, Catholic Charities. But a special unit is my unit, which is the Information Assistance Unit, which is comprised now of 13 outreach workers that are actually going out into the community and can do these assessments to the seniors and, assess for what kinds of needs they have, and to link them up to some of the services, volunteers, Meals on Wheels, bathing services. And these are services that actually do not have a cost. Of course, they accept donations, but it's something that, I think the seniors really can benefit from.
Okay. Now, I don't know if this is in any way related to this, but there's something called this ombudsman, people that are supposedly looking out and protecting you. And we've got one apparently in Hawaii for aging. What's that all about?
Right, that's the State Long-Term Ombudsman Program, which is an excellent program, and it's for people that are in nursing home long-term care facilities. And if they have any kinds of concerns about themselves, then they have the ombudsman to report their complaints to, aside from Adult Protective Services and or calling any of the other numbers. But the ombudsman is specifically for these individuals that live in this institutional facility.
Do they work closely with, do you folks, as, say, elder law attorneys, ever work with, hand in hand with ombudsmen? Or?
In my experience, not extensively.
Okay.
They are supposed to be the neutral representative to investigate and work with the care facilities when there are problems. But there's so many issues aside from just getting your estate planning done, preparing for incapacity, the fraud issues, and all of that it all kind of overlaps, but we do try to at least point people in the right direction,
How do I find an elder law attorney?
Best way to find any attorney is word of mouth. There are a lot of places you can go to for referrals, but a lot of times the way they gather the referrals are just by paying a fee or joining the organization. However, there are some that are not like that. I know off the top of my head, Special Needs Alliance, theirs is by invitation only. You have to be an attorney well recognized in your field to be invited to join that organization. But, a lot of times people are not going to know that. but word of mouth is definitely the best way. If you have a friend who had a good attorney, that's the best way to go. And conversely, if you go to a referral service and it's just I'll pay you my money so you tell people to come to me, you could have the worst attorney in the world, but you wouldn't know it until you actually go through it. So it is important to talk, and that's, as we said, the social groups are great because you're going to find out all this information from your friends.
Okay. Well, but elder law attorney versus a regular attorney, any reason why the elder law attorney might be able to provide more help?
Just experience, and it depends on your individual situation. So depending on your situation, it is best to ask your attorney, don't be afraid. What are your qualifications? What's your experience? How long have you been practicing? Anything that you have concerns about, don't be hesitant to ask, because it is your case. You want someone who's going to take care of you. And even if someone is qualified, maybe their personal style doesn't match you as well. It's always important to find a good fit with your attorney.
And a number of attorneys, volunteer for places like UHelp or Legal Services of Hawaii. And I always, have to promote for the seniors and, for ones that may not be able to afford the attorney fees. So I think that, we have great help in calling UHelp and or Legal Services of Hawaii, or there's actually a number of other pro bono.
Okay, so UHelp is
agencies.
University of Hawaii Elder Law Program.
Yes.
So I just want to make it clear for our viewers that that's what we're talking about. Oh, well, we have just a few more minutes left. Just a few more minutes left. So perhaps I'd like to ask you, both of you, for your one last recommendation for our viewers. So taking all the information that we've shared, if you had one thing that you needed to tell them, what is it that you would tell them?
Well, I have too many, so I will say that I would like if there are any questions for any kind of senior issues, for individuals to call the Elderly Affairs Senior Information and Assistance Helpline, and the number is on the back of our handbook. This handbook has every and all the numbers that a senior would need for pretty much everything that they do in their daily lives.
Okay, and how about Catherine?
Plan ahead.
Plan
and that
ahead.
is the most important thing. So many things can be avoided or resolved much easily if you just plan ahead and don't wait
Okay.
till the last minute.
Thank you so much, both of
Thanks.
you. So we've got Lei Shimizu and Catherine Mashima. Thank you very much for this discussion on legal issues for seniors. So again, this is Kupuna Connections television show, and we'd like to thank you for watching, and we are always going to be here on a weekly basis, so thank you very much. Aloha.
For more information about training and educational opportunities, please contact your local community college's continuing education program or Kapi'olani Community College's Kupuna Education Center, 734-9108. Mahalo, and thank you for watching Kupuna Connections.